Well, welcome back to the channel. We're on Bodywork on the Cobra. I've got a couple of things to fix other than killing the wasps that are in here that keep buzzing me. It's that time of year. If you recall in a previous video, I had rigged up the mounts for this. The mounts themselves are going to work. The problem is the epoxy, the silicone that I use to bond it as recommended on many Cobra forums, not strong enough. So what I've got on the way is I've got some JB Weld Marine epoxy that is supposed to bond aluminum to fiberglass. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drill some holes in the aluminum L brackets that I've got to get the epoxy to penetrate into that under multiple surfaces, and then go ahead and rebond that. So these are going to be rebonded in the middle of this process as well. Right now what I'm working on is I've managed to fill the gaps that were here, and then I'm going to go through and start sanding the doors, getting all this knocked down, get the first level done with 320 on a DA, and then I'm going to start taking the primer steps and the steadily finer grit paper to get these ready to paint. Now I'm going to be finishing this up and doing more body work on them, especially in these areas here, which are a known area of flaws for hurricane molds. I'm going to be filling that and make that fit the car better, but I won't be able to do that until I put the body back on the frame. The body will not go back on the chassis, however, until it is back from the tuner, which will be in December. So this is going to be an ongoing process. So I'm going to spend time right now getting these prepped, getting them to where they can start accepting more and more primer to fill in the fine scratches and get these ready to paint. Okay, one thing I noticed is I was a little bit low on certain grits for my DA. So I attacked Amazon. Got a package of 220 and a package of 180. Hopefully that'll make it a little bit easier. Of course, when you're doing this stuff, mask up. You might be asking yourself, why am I using such an aggressive grit on the first prime? Well, first of all, I've still got some little pinholes. If you recall from my 32 Ford projects, I had quite a few pinholes to deal with. That's what I'm doing here, is I'm filling pinholes. I did that on the other side of the body as well. But also, I had a bit of an issue with the first prime. See this little red streak there, and you'll see it on the hood over there. I had an issue with the primer itself. I don't know if the primer that I used was old or if the catalyst had a problem, but it did not dry properly. I did mix it properly, but it did not dry properly. So I'm having to take off quite a bit of the coat that I put on it because it had a little bit of a tacky feel after so long. It's not that big of a deal. I've got this down where I've got a good foundation now, but I'm going to have to sand it down a little more than I thought and come back with a fresh coat of primer. parts where the primer was bad off of it, because I've gone over this. It looks really good. On the underside, I don't know if I can actually get under here, but let's take a look. On the underside, I've got the same thing done. I've sanded on the other place. I've also put up some actual putty to get some of those pinholes out. I have also done that on the doors around the edges where I had to cut those to fit. I'm going to let that cure and dry, and then we'll attack it again, probably tomorrow. Once I get all of that done, insert pinholes, I'm going to come in here also and I'm going to sand here to smooth off the edges of the hood. That way it looks really good. And I'll have to hand sand that. And then we can go ahead and move forward with the next coat of primer. notice here, I've decided to cut losses and decided the entire primer coat that I put on the hood was corrupted, with the exception of that right there, which I used a different primer. That's good. The rest of this, however, I've decided to have it come off. I'm using a combination of lacquer thinner and sanding with a finer grit, and it's actually coming off really good. You can see here it looks good. So I think I'm going to go back, and when I get my hanging stands in a couple of days, I'm going to go back and reprime everything and start from scratch. I think that's wise. I don't want to take a risk on my paint popping in the future, so I want to be sure I've got a good basis. We're starting over. Okay, using lacquer thinner and rags, and also going back over it once that was done with 320 on my DA. It's actually quite slick now. We don't have that gummed up primer on it anymore. Yes, I took 2 steps back doing this, but the good news is I've got a good place to start. I can shoot a load of primer on this, find any high and low spots, sand it with 400, and continue to get this ready to paint. Now, the doors seem okay. The primer seems pretty solid. I'm going to investigate this a little bit further just to make sure I'm not making a mistake, and if I have to, I'll go in and do the same thing on those that I did with these and strip them off. Let's keep going.
The next day.
Next day, after sleeping on it overnight, I also did some sanding on the doors. It is not what I wanted to do either, so I'm going to go ahead and strip at least the outside of the doors. The inside is pretty good, plus it's covered up with material for the interior, so I'm a little bit less concerned about the inside, but the outside, where I'm going to be painting a lot, I'm just not comfortable with it, so I think I'm going to go ahead and strip off the paint on that, or the primer on that, and start over again. Let's get busy. What I did was I took some 320 and ran over this to block it, and what turned out was not satisfactory at all. Let me see if I can find my piece of sandpaper. It's the 320 block that I'm using, and you can see here how it's gumming up on my sandpaper. So I'm going to go ahead and strip this as well and get this done. At the risk of putting my man card at risk, I'm going to be using my wife's gloves for this particular thing, and my God, she has short fingers, and also respirator, how to protect yourself when you're working with chemicals and things of that nature, so be sure to protect yourself. All right, the lacquer thinner has gotten most of it off. It's got a little bit of thin haze residue on it. I'm now going to take my DA with 320 and sand off the rest of it. All right, 320 here. I actually upgraded to 400 over the tops of the doors just to smooth them out a little bit, and you'll notice on my sandpaper and on the DA we don't have the gumming up issue that we had before, which means that all of that bad primer is off. This is body filler right here. I'm going to have to do some more work on this eventually, but you can see we're back to slick fiberglass now. The integrity is good. Everything's good to go. Now it's just a matter of spraying the primer back on both of the body panels, and I'm going to do that as I get another shipment in from eBay this time. I ordered 2 paint stands that will allow me to hang the body panels while they're painting and priming. That way I don't have the issues of laying it down, having to wait, to flip it over and things of that nature. So it'll be good to go, and I can go ahead and move forward with that. I'm going to pause this video here, and we will move on to the next load. The next video on the Cobra, you will see that we will be doing the priming and getting that stuff ready, and I will start block sanding the body in the next video. Stick around, we'll see you soon.